respect to also judges for clarification of procedure, today we have three victim impact statements that we would ask to be heard. The first is Mr. Philip Vetrano, Karina Vetrano's dad, followed by Karina's sister Tana, accompanied by her brother, who was accompanied her to the podium, and then finally Karina's mom, Kathy Vetrano, would like to address the court as well. Before we do that, though, Judge, I just wanted to place a couple things on the record with respect to the defendant's pre-sentence report that they provided to the court and to counsel. The pre-sentence report is fairly comprehensive that they prepared, and make reference throughout the document to mitigating factors dealing with defendant's mental health and dealing with the defendant's mental state. It cites to various records and documents that their investigative team who prepared this report allegedly relied upon. First, I'd like to, since it's asking this court to consider this information in terms of the sentence that you're about to impose, I would like to address a couple of things. First is, I'd like to, the record to be clear, that the defendant withdrew, initially served, CPL 250-10 notice upon the people early in the proceedings, which indicated an intention to offer some sort of psychiatric or a mental health defense. The defense retained their own forensic psychologist who apparently conducted interviews of the defendant over a period of months, and as a result generated a report that he provided to his client, the defense team. However, the defendant strategically decided to withdraw their 250-10 notice later in the proceedings, indicating that they had no intention of pursuing any sort of mental health defense, either in the case in chief or in any pretrial hearings as well. And they withdrew that notice subsequent to the time that their forensic psychologist had interviewed the defendant and written a report. That deprived us of the opportunity to have the defendant evaluated or interviewed by our own forensic psychologist or psychiatrist, and it also deprived us of the opportunity to know what is contained within the report that was prepared by their forensic psychologist. They make reference to various portions of that report in this pre-sentence investigation. We don't have the benefit of having ever seen that because they withdrew their notice of any intent to introduce any evidence of mental health, either at the guilt phase or at the pretrial hearing stage. And so we think it's improper for this court to take into consideration any comments that are made by that forensic psychologist for which this notice has been withdrawn and for which the people never had the opportunity to either examine the defendant, interview the defendant, or even review the report prepared by their forensic psychologist. So that would be my application. However, I do suggest that this pre-sentence report, in one portion referencing this forensic psychologist that was retained by the defendant, suggests, however, for purposes of this court in determining sentencing, appears a reasonable inference that can be drawn from the brief paragraph that is taken out of a much larger report, it would seem, which indicates to the reader, and I suggest to this court, a reasonable inference that the defendant confessed his involvement in this homicide to the forensic psychologist. And that is contained on page 2 of this report. And I'll read in part from it. And I'm not going to say the doctor's name, but their forensic psychologist notes in conclusion that the instant matter involves a homicide. And then there's a series of 3 dashes. Quote, where the defendant's mental illness appears to have been a major, if not overriding factor, and which may have well been prevented had the defendant been provided with adequate treatment. I suggest, Judge, that what that shows is that this defendant, during a forensic interview by their forensic psychologist, admitted his guilt in this crime, but that the defense strategically made a decision to withdraw that notice and not proceed with a mental health defense. But I certainly think that if the court is going to take into consideration any aspect of what that forensic psychologist says in this report, in this pre-sentence report, that the court draw that reasonable inference from that particular line as well. That's all I have with respect to that.
Thank you.
Would you like to hear from the victim?
I would.
So at this time, the people would ask that the court Vetrano come up and say
Judge, Your Honor, I want to thank you for giving my family and myself the opportunity to speak in your house. First, I would like to speak to you man to man, from the heart of a father of two girls to the heart of the father of two girls. You can only begin to imagine the pain, the anguish of finding your baby brutally beaten, her neck swollen and bruised, knowing she was dead, unable to help her, to save her, to protect her, as any father would instinctively want to do. That monster killed 4 people the night of August 2nd, 2016. One of us is in heaven, but the other 3 walk the earth as zombies, just waiting to die to be with Karina again. There were no more Merry Christmases, no more Happy New Years, no more happy birthdays. There is no more pleasure in life, no more smiles, no more happiness. Those are all taken by that convicted, murdering rapist. My heart was ripped out of me that night, and it created a void that will never heal. Only my faith in God and my belief in heaven keeps me from killing myself for fear of not being allowed into heaven to see my baby again. Now, I would speak to you as a victim to a Supreme Court justice. Whatever happens here today, whatever sentence you impose, there will be no true justice. The light of my life was brutally beaten and murdered by that animal. True justice will be served only when he is dead and he meets the Lord our God. He, and only he, can impose true justice upon that murderer, and he will feel the wrath of God and burn in eternal hell. That convicted, murdering rapist deserves to spend the rest of his life locked away from society. He's a serial killer in the making. If he wasn't caught, I know he would have killed again and again. He's proven that. As an angry, violent boy, he told the teacher he wanted to bring a knife to school and kill all the girls. As an angry, violent man, he made good on that threat the night he killed the brightest light in the world, my baby girl, Karina. After he had already killed, he searched on his phone how to forcibly rape someone. And again, that was after he had already killed and raped Karina. So his intentions are obvious. He wanted to kill and to rape again and again. And he will if he is ever let loose on this world. He has shown no remorse, no regret, and no sorrow. I ask you to use the power that was given to you by the people to protect the people that gave you that power. The only way to do that is to make sure he never has the opportunity to kill another innocent person. I beg of you to impose the maximum sentence allowed, which is life, without the possibility of parole. He must never walk the streets again. Thank you, sir. Now, I want to address him, you. Karina has asked me to give you a message. Reluctantly, I will do so. Now remember, these are not my words. These are her words. She told me that if you stand up here today in court and ask for her forgiveness, tell her you're sorry, she will forgive you. But remember, those are not my words, and I will never forgive you. Thank you, sir. At this time, I'd like to introduce my two surviving children, Eddie and Tana. Thank you.
While my sister was dying, being murdered, I was giving my 3-month-old baby a bath. I did not know that those were the last moments of lightness and peace I would know. I did not know that all innocence would be lost that August night. To state how the brutal murder of my sister Karina has impacted my life is nearly impossible. Every day is filled with loss and yearning. I yearn to be a child again, to have Karina crawl in my bed on Christmas mornings while our parents were still asleep. I yearn for my child to know his Aunt Riri, for her to teach him to love fiercely and live fearlessly in pure lightness that was her, that is her. Chanel Lewis killed my beautiful, innocent, insightful, gentle sister. My sister that always put her pajamas on inside out and backwards, whose feet, if it weren't for her giant big toe, were the size of a doll's. Her hands, her tiny hands, left grasping for weeds in attempt to save her life. My sister is dead, a thought I cannot grasp. Even after enduring countless court dates, 2 trials, heinous accusations against my family, and a circus of a defense, I cannot accept that my baby sister is dead. My sister Karina is the victim here, the only victim. Chanel Lewis, you are not worthy to be associated. I wish you good health. May you live a long life in darkness and fear, longing and yearning for all you have lost. I wish you courage, courage to stand up and pray for the redemption of your wicked soul. Your guilty verdict was not justice, for the real justice and reckoning is when you face your higher power with Karina by his side. And yes, the Lord does not give us murderers. We walk the earth and make decisions, and in one horrific moment, you chose to become a murderer. Your Honor, Chanel Lewis showed my sister Karina no mercy, and I ask that the court show him no mercy and give him the highest.
Victims are weak. Karina was a warrior. Warriors fight for their lives with every breath they take. Warriors clutch at the weeds around them to stop them being dragged. And they pull at the hand wrapped around their throat until they have no more breath to fight. You killed my sister that day, but I take comfort knowing that Karina died fighting for her life. She'll never be your victim. Calling her that doesn't do her justice. She is a warrior. When you, like your family, when you're tested, you see cover. So that's what you all did, what you all continue to do, with no respect for the truth or for the pain you continue to cause. You have all, in fact, somehow found a way to portray yourselves as victims. You blame, make excuses, seek pity. You have perpetuated this process, even until yesterday, continuing to play the victim, pointing at the police, the system, the judge, the jury. You have carried on this farce and blamed everyone but yourself. But everyone in this room knows you killed my sister. There's an emptiness inside me that won't ever get filled. But in the name of my sister, I'll continue to work every day to get the best for myself, trying to live in a way that would make my sister proud of me. I still have the hope that I can become the man God knows I can be. We all know that you don't have that hope anymore. I love you, Karina. I miss you. And finally, Your Honor, I'd ask for Mrs. Vetrano to come up and say
Excuse me. Good morning. Good morning, Your Honor. Please accept my sincere gratitude and respect for your patience, fairness, integrity, and dedication to justice throughout this trial. I must also acknowledge my thanks and respect to the esteemed District Attorney, Richard Brown, and his entire staff, including the magnificent prosecution team, especially Brad Leventhal, Mike Curtis, Amanda, Evelyn, and each and every one who used their blood, sweat, and tears to achieve justice for my beautiful daughter, Karina. My sincere gratitude goes out to the court officers and, of course, to New York's finest, the NYPD, especially Detectives Christian Casada and Barry Brown. I thank them for their timeless devotion in their pursuit and apprehension of this dangerous murderer. Last but not least, I thank my family, my magnificent family and friends, and all of Karina's army who have given endless sacrifices to stand with us. To God I give all the glory. Thank you, Jesus, my Lord and Savior, for fulfilling your every promise to me. As you told me in Isaiah 41:10, fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. And as I proceed with my statement, Your Honor, I stand before this court to assert that this is Karina's day, and it's hers and hers alone. This is the day where we acknowledge that Karina's life matters. I want to show you. These are the shoes. These are Karina's shoes. These are the shoes that she put on the morning of August 2nd as she prepared to work, and more throughout the workday. As tiny as they are, Your Honor, these are the shoes of a giant, a valiant warrior, and a queen. Chanel Lewis, I have no doubt at all that you are fully and completely capable to comprehend everything that I am about to say to you. That the vacant expression you show is merely a reflection of your detached and empty soul. You've proven over and over again you are a very clever and capable man, Chanel Lewis. Contacting and complaining to news reporters, boasting about your front page notoriety, your phone searches, especially those made after you voluntarily submitted your DNA, are particularly revealing of your resourcefulness, knowing your secret would soon be exposed. From the Bible, we are told this about God. He reveals the deep things of darkness and brings utter darkness into the light. This is what God does. As an alleged God-fearing man, I will remind you that the very second you laid your loathsome hand upon a child of God, my daughter, my innocent daughter, you rejected the Holy Spirit and carried out the work of Satan. The angels wept and the devils danced with delight as you proceeded to torture and impose the most brutal and merciless slaying of my beautiful baby. So repulsive are you that you left her hidden to be further desecrated in the summer heat by bugs and animals. Like a snake, you slithered away into the night with your secrets and your feculent wounded hand and your lies. While we suffered and died a million deaths every second of every day, you breathed, you ate, you searched your phone for pornography and forcible rape. But God was watching you all the time, Chanel Lewis. You were, you are, and you remain true to your character as a pathetic, evil coward. You are remorseless as you ask for restitution and second chances. My hope is that you live a long life within the prison of the law and the prison of your conscience, and when the time comes that you face our Heavenly Father, I assure you, you will not fool him with your lies. He knows exactly what you did on the evening of August 2nd, 2016. And he promises me, vengeance is mine, I will repay. I conclude this portion of my statement to you with a stanza of Karina's most favorite poem. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I rise. Your Honor, I fully appreciate this opportunity to publicly address this court and express the impact inflicted upon me and my family since the inconceivable death of my treasured daughter, Karina Ann Francesca Vetrano. After racking my frazzled brain for countless days in effort to verbalize the devastation created by the monster, the convicted sexual abuser and murderer, Chanel Lewis, I've concluded it is impossible for mere words to qualify the depth and vastness of these tribulations. Even in my attempt to write this statement, I was further impacted in revisiting the magnitude of the horrors inflicted. So to summarize, but not minimize, I must first acknowledge that the true victim here is my innocent daughter, Karina, who brutally suffered her last moments on earth in battle with this evil, angry, and perverted man, Chanel Lewis. It was Karina who was ambushed, alone and helpless. It was Karina who was terrorized, beaten, battered, strangled, desecrated, and killed. Yet, I assert that in the early evening hours of August 2nd, 2016, Chanel Lewis slaughtered me as well. Every loving parent recognizes the death of their child as the most incomprehensible and highest infliction to be endured. These years that have followed since he succeeded with his gruesome slaying of my child, I experienced the savage execution of his demonic desires countless times daily, in the light of day and the endless darkness of night. Imagining her deep, precious eyes that reflected her most radiant, emphatic soul, filled with pain and terror, gasping and struggling, looking into the empty, merciless eyes of this angry, enraged stranger provokes a level of excruciating pain and fury that I never before could have conceived. My grief counselors have told me that grief includes losing a part of oneself. But Your Honor, I've lost all of myself. I only see glimpses of the woman I once was when I'm with my grandson, who is the only person in my life that is still innocent and unaware of the abomination we exist with. He was only 3 months old when Chanel Lewis killed his aunt, Riri. He will never remember her loving arms embracing him or her genuine awe at the miracle of his creation. Through our dedication to keep Karina alive, he knows all about her. He knows she loves butterflies. He knows Aunt Riri is in heaven with God. With the inquisitiveness of a 3-year-old, as he puts it, he tells me a question. I'm usually so pleased to answer the questions he tells me. But Your Honor, I was actually speechless recently when he asked me so sweetly, Ami, when is Riri coming back? Among her multitudes of attributes, Karina was born and gifted with extraordinary intellect and profound wisdom in appreciating life and emotions. Karina is a passionate writer and used her talent to express herself. Her love of language led her to her chosen and hard-earned profession as a speech pathologist for autistic children. It was more than a career. It was her vocation to share her gift of communication by being of service to others. I've chosen to share a portion of one of Karina's writings that I feel will demonstrate but a morsel of the character of my magnificent child, a warrior and a queen. I am in a state of, this is Karina's words, I am in a state of awe of all the majesties that life has to offer. And it only occurs when I'm with nature. These little microscopic things that I let bother me, parking tickets, an unanswered text, some girl who I don't even like doesn't like me, but why? The guy who didn't put his blinker on. I let these things consume me. It is all these pathetic pieces of everyday life that give me so much grief. And then I put my running sneakers on, I plug my headphones into my ears, I hit the pavement, and it all goes on mute. I feel God everywhere. God is in the innocence of animals. In white clouds radiate some kind of magical beam. God in the trees, the moon, the stars, in a breeze on a summer day. And I'm here soaking in all the natural, honest art of God. And for now, it makes It all makes perfect, sublime sense. And it blows my mind, she says. We are fascinating beings with minds so sickeningly powerful, with the ability to communicate, to build, to climb mountains and run marathons, and produce music and art, to create life and literature. We were given emotion, such a tender, beautiful gift, emotion. We are the only species that is able to literally express how much we care about another being with pure words. How lucky can we possibly be? And what do we do with it? God exists, it's everywhere. It's in all the things beautiful that we cannot explain. I know it without a doubt in my mind. I know it every time I take the time out to be alone outside. I don't think I need to point out the heart-shattering irony here, Your Honor, but rather I choose to receive this as Karina's validation to us that while the demon, the predator, Chanel Lewis, attacked, tortured, and murdered her, Karina was in a state of grace and prayer. She was worshiping her Heavenly Father. And with that, I believe she ascended directly to God's kingdom, where she now sits, holding his righteous right hand for eternity. And to conclude, Your Honor, I just recommend that this self-confessed and committed and convicted sexual abuser and murderer, Chanel Lewis, I implore you to impose the most severe sentence allowed by law. He has shown absolutely no remorse for his deplorable crimes. He chose to execute his crimes in the most brutal and merciless manner. His disregard for life is clearly demonstrated through his cavalier attitude during his confessions and searches on the internet for pardons after brutally taking the life of an innocent stranger and destroying an entire family. He is a liar and has no moral conscience, as he sat before this court and heard and allowed his attorney to insinuate to the jury, that my husband, the beloved father, best friend and hero of his victim, held responsibility for the savagery that he himself imposed. If he was ever released from incarceration, he would be in the care of those who do not even acknowledge his crimes or recognize his propensity to violence. Had his previous threats to harm women been recognized and addressed, my daughter, my beautiful, precious daughter, Karina Vetrano, would still be alive. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Ledbetter, please.
Yes. Your Honor, you had the opportunity to preside over both trials in this case, and so I don't need to dwell on the evidence in front of you because you know it firsthand from hearing it. This was a senseless and a brutal crime. The defendant did not even know his victim. She was a complete stranger. They happened to be occupy the same space on this trail in the secluded and isolated area of Spring Creek Park at the same time on the same fateful day. And this defendant made a series of decisions. He made the decision to not let her pass. He made the decision to attack her for whatever reasons he had. If you want to credit what he said in his confession, that he was angry about some event that had taken place earlier in the day, or if it was something else, or if it was motivated by some sort of sexual desire on his part. He knows the answers to those questions. But he made a decision to not allow her to pass. He made a decision to attack her, to throw her to the ground, He was almost a foot taller than her and about 40 pounds heavier than her. And he punched her and punched her and punched her repeatedly. You saw the autopsy pictures. You saw the crime scene pictures. You know the brutality of this crime committed by this defendant upon a complete stranger, an innocent victim. He showed her not 1 ounce of mercy as she fought for her life. Her last moments on this earth, Your Honor, were filled, I suggest, with fear and with pain. And then he wrapped his hands around her neck. And you heard the testimony of Dr. Pryor, and you heard her tell you, and tell this jury, the jury that heard this case, that it would take at least 20 seconds before she would be rendered unconscious, before she would no longer be able to fight. But that wouldn't cause death. Death was caused when he continued to exert 11 pounds of pressure symmetrically on both sides of her neck for 2 to 3 minutes, until every last ounce of breath was gone from her lungs, and every last bit of life was gone from her veins. He took everything that she had and everything that she would ever have again. And he did it while he sexually abused her, while he pulled down her clothes to expose her private areas for his own sexual gratification. He murdered her, and then he discarded her body in those weeds as if she were nothing. And he went on with his life until he was discovered 6 months later as a result of what he left behind, of the DNA that he left behind under Karina's fingernails, the DNA he left behind on her neck, the DNA he left behind on her phone. All his, no one else's. No one. His. He sought treatment for the injury that he sustained by beating her and cracking her tooth in a hospital in Brooklyn the very next day. And when his DNA was discovered as a result of him acting in a suspicious fashion months before he even killed Karina, Your Honor, you didn't have the opportunity to preside over the hearing in this case, but Lieutenant Russo told the hearing court that one of the reasons why they focused on the defendant and why he asked investigators to go out and speak to the defendant after recalling this incident in May of 2016 before Karina died, when he saw the defendant acting suspiciously in the Howard Beach area. When he ran the defendant in the computer, he saw that there were aided cards he testified to, and that those aided cards indicated that the defendant had previously indicated a desire to hurt women. And that was part of the reason why he sent detectives to speak to the defendant and to see if he would consensually give a DNA swab, which he did in the presence of his mother. And it's as a result of that fine police work that this defendant was identified as the perpetrator of this heinous, vicious crime. And then he was treated civilly. You saw the videotape confessions. You saw it all. And you saw how civilly he was treated by members of the New York City Police Department. And that his statements were voluntary in nature after being provided all of his constitutional rights. And then he went to trial.
Quiet down.
He went to trial, and he was given a fair trial by this court. He was given a fair trial by a jury of his peers that he participated in selecting. And that jury saw the same thing that you did, Your Honor, the same thing that everybody did, that this defendant is guilty of these crimes as proven beyond any reasonable doubt by the credible evidence presented in this case. This is a parent's worst nightmare. The child goes out for an afternoon run and never returns. The anguish that this family has gone through for these 2.5 years is unimaginable. Your Honor, you have a great deal of discretion here as to what to sentence this defendant to. This defendant has never shown an ounce of remorse. The evidence in this case is overwhelming. The amount of brutality in this case is unspeakable, and the sexual component to this case is disgusting. This defendant is a danger to society. The crime that he committed is unspeakable, and the brutality that he engaged in is unimaginable. And for those reasons, I am asking this court to sentence the defendant for the crime of murder in the first degree to the maximum period of incarceration permitted under the law, and that is a sentence of life without the possibility of parole. With respect to murder in the second degree under a felony murder theory, I'm asking this court to sentence the defendant to the maximum term of imprisonment authorized by law of 25 years to life. For the crime of sexual abuse in the first degree, I'm asking this court to sentence the defendant to the maximum period of incarceration permitted by law, which I believe is 237 years incarceration. Those sentences I'm asking this court, and I suggest to this court, must run concurrently with each other. There is one remaining count, however, the count of intentional murder in the second degree, that stands apart from the sexual abuse count, that stands apart from the intentional murder in the first degree count that also has a component of sexual abuse in it, and it stands apart from felony murder in the second degree based upon the sexual abuse. Intentional murder in the second degree stands alone. The intent to cause the death of another person, he caused the death of Karina Vetrano. That is a crime that he was convicted of as well. And for that crime, I'm asking this court to sentence the defendant to the period of incarceration, maximum period of incarceration, of 25 years to life. And I'm asking that this court run that sentence consecutively to the sentence of 237 years for the crime of sexual abuse in the first degree. Those two crimes do not share any of the same elements, and they are distinct acts. And I'm asking the court for those reasons to sentence the defendant to consecutive sentences of intentional murder in the second degree, and sexual abuse in the first degree, 25 to life for the intentional murder, 237 for the sexual abuse in the first degree consecutively. Thank you, Judge, for presiding over this case, and thank you for providing the people and for the defendant a fair trial.
Good morning, Your Honor. On behalf of our client, Channel Lewis, we first want to acknowledge the tragic nature of Ms. Vetrano's death. We recognize the impact that her death has had on her family, her friends, and her community, and nothing in our statement seeks to diminish that. In sentencing Mr. Lewis in this case, we ask Your Honor to consider the pre-sentencing memorandum that was submitted along with letters of support from Mr. Lewis's neighbors, friends, and family. We also ask Your Honor to consider the support Mr. Lewis has in the courtroom with him today and that he's had throughout the two trials, including his mother and his sister. We also want to tell you who our client is. Mr. Lewis stands before you a 22-year-old man. Prior to his arrest in this case, at the age of 20, Mr. Lewis had never before been arrested. He grew up in East New York, Brooklyn, the son of immigrants from Jamaica. His father, Richard Lewis, worked as a teacher and an administrator in Jamaica and worked as a teacher in Brooklyn. His father is also a pastor. His mother, Vita Lewis, is a nursing assistant at an assisted living facility, a position she has held for the past 17 years. Mr. Lewis has 6 half-brothers and sisters. Both of his parents are naturalized citizens. His parents separated when he was 10 years old, and he split his time between his 2 parents' homes. Throughout his childhood and until the time of his arrest, he lived only with his family, his older sisters, and later young nieces and nephews. Channel and his family regularly attended church services, and they are a deeply religious family. Channel graduated from a high school for students with emotional disabilities, and he was working on enrolling in a vocational training program. The pre-sentencing memorandum we submitted has letters of support from community members. Specifically, a family friend and member of his church states that he's known Channel for 11 years and that he is a, quote, caring and pleasant young man. Another family friend writes that ever since Channel was a child, she's known him to be a loving and caring person, and she never once saw him get angry or raise his voice. She states that Channel would prepare a cup of tea for his mother after a long day at work and even rub her feet. Since Channel's arrest, his father, Richard, has decompensated significantly. He is now in a nursing home for patients with dementia. He's been unable to attend any of his son's court appearances, nor does he fully comprehend what is happening to his child. His mother, Vita Lewis, has also suffered a great deal since her son's arrest. Before his arrest, he always made sure Mrs. Lewis had dinner after a long shift, and the two of them were very close. His incarceration at Rikers in Orange County and at Riverhead has been tremendously difficult on the family and Mrs. Lewis specifically. Nevertheless, she's rearranged her work schedule to make every court appearance for the past 2.5 years, and she visits with Channel multiple times a week. The prospect of visiting her son in prison, potentially hundreds of miles away, is devastating to her, and she relies on her faith and her community to keep going. Again, Your Honor, there is no doubt that what happened to Karina Vetrano was a tragedy, and that her family and community have suffered an exceedingly difficult loss. We ask Your Honor to allow Mr. Lewis's sealed pre-sentencing memorandum, probation report, and accompanying documents to be entered into his packet as he is sentenced, so that he may be placed in a correctional facility that is best equipped to provide the social and vocational services that he needs. We thank this court for your consideration of all of these factors when imposing your sentence. We will be asking for a concurrent sentence, and we thank Your Honor.
Mr. Lewis, anything you wish to say to this court before I sentence you, sir?
The only thing I want to say, Judge, is that I'm innocent. And I'm sorry for the family's loss, but I didn't do this.
Anything else? Anything else, Mr. Lewis?
No, sir. No, sir.
I can't hear you, Mr. Moore. I'm sorry.
Just briefly, Mr. Leventhal made some reference to our probation report and the information that was contained in it. And while it's true that we did not pursue a psychiatric defense in this case after careful consideration, that information was not put in there to allege in any way that Mr. Lewis is unfit to proceed. There's no traditional insanity defense type, but I think that that information should be included in your court's determination over what should happen to this young man. I think his background and intellectual, physical condition is something that you should take into account. The statement that was made that in some way, shape, or form the defendant had admitted committing the crime to the forensic psychologist is a stretch of an inference I would submit to the court. As the court's aware, when people are being interviewed for possible psychiatric defenses or conditions, those professionals need to know the context of why they're there and what happened that led them to be there. And of course, when this doctor did that, he had all that information available to him and knew about this case and the facts of this case. So I just want that to be clear before you pronounce your sentence, Judge.
I've been personally involved in the criminal justice system virtually my entire adult life. And I got to say quite honestly that it's sometimes difficult not to become jaded or even sometimes numb. And not only what I see, but what we collectively see on virtually a daily basis. And then you're confronted with a crime such as this. Not to say that one victim's life is more precious than another victim, or one family's grief is more impactful than another family's grief. But a case like this has an effect to shake you because it kind of dispels the fallacy that as long as we confine ourselves to our neighborhood and do what we do on a daily basis in the presence of our loved ones and our neighbors, we're somehow safe. We want to believe that, we have to believe that, and then we just can't believe it because this is what happens. a random, senseless, horrific crime like this happens, and it has such a wide-ranging effect. We went through so many jurors in 2 cases who said we can't sit here because not only do we know about the case, we've modified the way we live our lives. We tell our kids, now, don't go by yourself. When you go run, you have to run with the partner. You can't go into a particular area. And it has this collective sense of grief. There's so much that we're exposed to, and so much I just still can't comprehend. As long as I've been doing this, it's a lose-lose situation for both families, always, always, always. But there is something that keeps me going. Clearly, I believe this with all my heart, every fiber of my being, that God, who is at this very moment embracing Karina Vetrano, I believe this, who is providing solace and comfort not only to the family, but to the community who's suffering your crime, that same God is ready, willing, and anxious to forgive you for this crime. One person and one person can make that happen, Mr. Lewis, and that's you. Your protestations of being innocent, that was not designed for me. It was designed for your followers, I'm sure. But in the not too distant future, you're going to wake up and you're going to find that a lot of these followers have moved on to another cause, another case, and you're going to be by yourself, very, very lonely. And I suggest to you at that point, you put into practice the penance that you researched after you brutally and savagely molested and murdered this young girl. That's my advice to you. But I will say one thing. When you do, and if you do, come to that decision, you're going to do it inside a cage. That's a guarantee. With respect to murder in the first degree, the sentence of this court is that you spend the rest of your natural life in jail without any possibility of parole. With respect to murder in the second degree, intentional murder, the sentence of this court is that you spend 25 years minimum, maximum of life. Third count, felony murder, the sentence of this court is that you're sentenced to 25 years to the rest of your natural life. With respect to sexual abuse in the first degree, the sentence is that you have a determined period of incarceration of 7 years, followed by 10 years of post-release supervision. Counts 1, counts 3, and counts 4 are to run concurrent. Count 2 is to run consecutive to counts 1, 3, and 4. With respect to count 4, there's a Sex Offender Registration Act that you must sign, the mandatory surcharge of $300, crime victim assistance fee of $25, DNA fee of $50, sex offender registration fee of $50, and a supplemental sex offender victim fee of $1,000. Come out of your inmate funds, advise this defendant of his right to appeal.
For the record reflect, the defendant is being handed a copy of his written right to appeal. Point of check. Maintain the audience. Justice for Chanel! Justice for Chanel! Justice
first and foremost, these are all our friends. These are all our neighbors. These are all our supporters. They've been here since the beginning. And I want to thank them all for being here. Secondly, all this was to us was that our baby was killed and murdered. And all we wanted to do was find the killer. We found him in 6 months. And there's no question, no doubt. We never wanted to make a race thing out of this, ever. And to us, it still isn't. But the defense chose to put us through this torture, this pain, these 2 years. They could have made it easier on us and on him if they would have took a plea. But they needed their 15 minutes. They needed their time in the limelight. They made a circus out of this. We never intended that to be. Never intended this become a circus. But it has, and it's still bewildering to me that something like that did happen. But today, everybody got justice. Karina got justice, and the murderer got his justice. So, I just want to thank all my supporters, the DA's office, the police, the court officers, and everybody that's been behind us and stood behind us this entire time. Thank you.
What did you make of Chanel saying that he's sorry for your loss, but it wasn't me?
I don't even think he said he's sorry for my loss. He didn't say he's sorry at all. He said he was innocent, okay? He's still professing his innocence. When I said this in the beginning, there's only three types of people that think he didn't do it. First category, those with diminished mental capacities. 2, those who are out for their own political gain, their 15 minutes of fame. Some in category 2 fit into category 1. And the third were those who are in complete denial. And the third category takes care of all 3. And he's not in complete denial. He knows he did it, but he's still not man enough to admit that he did it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you talk at all? Don't talk anymore.
It's my baby girl. And I know most of the things I said are going to be cut out, but I'd like for one of you guys to print or play the whole thing somewhere so the people can see. Believe it. See you later.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you, I'm innocent. I'm sorry for the family's loss, but I didn't do this. I have the exact number.
No. He said that to the judge.
Heartbreaking testimony from Karina Vetrano's family today. As for Janelle Lewis, he was at
sent it? Charlie, you sent the pool? You send it, man. You got Jeff here. Huh? You can't, dude, you got, like, when you have pools, they just, like, fucking send it right away, man. Everybody wants it. What? When you have food, you send it right away. Huh? I mean, whatever. I love.
Reverend Kevin McCall. I'm the spiritual advisor to the family. I'm standing with Community Advocate Chris Banks, Assemblyman Charles Barron, Community Advocate Michael Thomas, Community Activist Mr. Marcus, and a host other of supporters for Chanel Lewis. Today, a man was lynched in sentencing. They violated his rights by sentencing the wrong individual. Right. The NYPD should not be here today. They should go out and find the real killer.
That's right.
Give them something to do, the NYPD.
Wasting our taxpayers' money.
They have violated his rights from day one. We knew what was going to happen today. We kind of figured that because the judge has the same tone from day one.
That's right.
It's absurd, and it's really ridiculous how the judge imposed his personal relief into the sentencing. The judge exposed who he was today, a racist.
A racist.
He was biased from the beginning. He was biased today in the sentencing.
That's right.
Chanel, you heard him with his own mouth, not from us, not from his mother, but with his own mouth. He said he was innocent. He gave his condolences as a human being.
That's right.
First, he said he is innocent. He said he did not do this. He is sorry. This Queen's Court is an injustice.
That's right.
This system is corrupt from the ground up. This judge, if you want to report something,
that's right.
This judge needs to be investigated.
That's right.
You need to move from the
Look at the judge.
He had over 200 cases overturned in this courtroom. He said time and time again, he sit on the bench and he's being partial, and it's hard for him. Well, it was hard for us to listen to him not being partial. It was hard for us to sit there, to listen to him violate the law. Every case, every injunction, every motion that the Legal Aid Society put in, this judge, as you saw, denied it. The only reason why he granted the hearing is because the prosecutor agreed with it.
That's right.
But everything, the judge wants to talk about somebody's mental health, talk about his mental health.
That's right. Could even...
He sat and stood up every court date, every trial hearing. He stood up, folded his arms, kept looking at the family. And today he had a seat and sat in the chair. This was an injustice, but we're not giving up. I want to let that judge know
right.
that Chanel has family.
That's right.
Chanel has supporters.
That's right.
Justice for Chanel.
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 The lawyers are putting in the notice of appeal today.
That's right.
We're not waiting until tomorrow. It's going to be done today because we know that Chanel is innocent.
That's right. The world knows.
I was going to say that.
At the end of the day, God has the last and final say. And we know that vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. So what we are going to do is continue to keep this family in prayer, to keep Chanel in prayer, and make sure he's protected. But we must continue to fight justice and stand up for it by any means necessary.
Yes, sir.
And that's what we'll continue to do. Our next steps is the appeal. Then we're taking our fights to the streets in Howard Beach.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We're taking our fight to the streets in Howard Beach.
Right. Yes, sir.
Because Howard Beach is known for being racist. Howard Beach is known for killing black men and chasing us through our neighborhood. So we are taking our fight to Howard Beach. We're sorry that the Vetranos lost their loved one. We have remorse for the loved one. But they got the wrong killer.
That's right.
They got the wrong person. They need to spend the resources on finding the real killer. If you look in Brownsville, in East New York, in Howard Beach, there are signs that's still up asking for any information about the death of Karina Vetrano. Why is those signs still up? Those signs are still up because a killer is still out there.
That's right.
Those signs are still up because a killer is on the loose. So we're saying today that we will not rest. We will visit Chanel. We will be with Chanel. Wherever he goes, we'll be right there with him. He will have his family. He will have his supporters. Because this is not the end with all. We will not allow this injustice to happen at all. At this time, I want to very briefly, from some of the supporters, some of the people that have been with this family from day one. The judge said they didn't got nobody. We've been here from day one. Every trial date, y'all saw me. Y'all saw Mr. Barron. Y'all saw Chris Banks. Y'all saw Michael Thomas. Y'all saw Michael Greaves. Y'all saw Mr. Marcus. Every case we were here. How dare the judge say they don't got friends and supporters? We vote letters in support. This judge gotta go. Judge Eloise got to 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 go. Judge Eloise
got to go. From day one, we've said over and over that Chanel was innocent. And we decided that we were going to deal and follow this system knowing that the outcome was not going to be what we wanted. We hoped that the criminal justice system would somehow come out as dark shadows and deliver justice to the land and bring people together. But they've been consistent with delivering an injustice to our community. The judge put his personal feelings involved, and to me that is a clear violation of protocol for the courts.
That's right.
He should be pulled from his bench.
That's right.
He should not be a judge here in New York City, not anywhere.
That's right.
He ran his court from the beginning like a circus. He ended it like a circus, and today he took on the mask of being a clown.
That's right.
He was consistent from day one.
That's right.
And as we said, and we're not going to stray away from it, the judge was biased, and today he's a racist. The juror was tainted. He denied a motion after motion. to make sure that Chanel got justice, he denied Chanel his duly rights. But yet, y'all expect us to accept the verdict and to go on as a community and accept this injustice decision? Hell no. We will not accept it. We're going to stand against this. The gates of hell will not prevail.
Yes, sir.
And Judge Alos, we are coming for you.
That's right.
We are coming for you.
right.
We will be at every court hearing. We will make sure the whispers are out there.
That's right.
That you are injustice to the system, you're an embarrassment to other judges, and you should not serve nowhere in this country. Nowhere. So guys, again, we're not giving up. This is just a setback. This is just a setback, and we are committed to fighting, to keeping this fight going. Our plan of action has been stated. We're going to take this fight to Howard Beach, because that's where the murderer is. The folks out there know who the murderer is. It's been said to us, and they need to look at other areas. They need to look at other areas, other persons in that community. There's so many questions around this case. There's been so many questions around this case. But yet, we had a jury that said beyond a reasonable doubt that this young man was guilty. No way.
No way.
No way.
No way.
No way. What type of justice system is this? No, what type of justice system is this? When there was clear doubt. There was clear doubt. And they ignored it. They decided to go with their own personal feelings, their own personal experiences. What an injustice.
What was your name?
Chris Banks.
Chris Banks.
Oh, hold on, I got this. It's ours, not yours. I got this. Right now, you will hear from one of the leaders of our community who's been with this family, has been supportive, our dear brother, Michael Greaves.
On behalf of 100 blacks in law enforcement, my name is Michael Graves. On behalf of 100 blacks in law enforcement and on behalf of the Lewis family, 100 blacks take the position that from the outset, this investigation was skewed. The reason you need to know that it was skewed and off balance from the outset is because this all started from the machinations of Lieutenant Russo.
That's right.
We wouldn't even be here today. Nobody in the Lewis family would be here today if it wasn't for Lieutenant Russo, who made up a scenario, who admits that he took 45 minutes on his off day following a black man for absolutely no reason.
And how would be?
He claims that this black man was suspicious. Why was he suspicious? Because he had on a hoodie in warm weather like this. Imagine that. That's why he followed him day one.
That's right.
If that wasn't enough, day two, Lieutenant Russo is off again, off duty, supposed to be enjoying life with his family and friends. What does he do on his second day off duty? He spots Chanel Lewis a second time and follows him again. Instead of 45 minutes this time, not only does he follow him for that length, but then 2 cops on him. Get 2 cops to get his name and get his address for no apparent reason, violating his constitutional rights, even though legally a police officer can ask you for your name and address. But they patted him down for nothing.
That's right.
The pat down was totally unnecessary, and it wasn't documented.
That's right.
So they took his name, put him in a file, which is illegal. Right. You're not supposed to be put in a database when you're not in the commission of a crime. Yes, so they put him in a database. So now, what do? They go 8 months without a suspect because the 2 suspects that they could have had were white, and they didn't want to arrest a white person.
Talk about it.
That's what we should be talking about. Why did they disregard the evidence that they had? Now, facts change, but any investigator tell you that the evidence never changes. Just facts. And facts are just machinations of what that prosecutor said about he beat her up, he choked her out, she came to again, he beat her up again, strangled her again. All these are machinations of a white supremacist imagination. All of it. Not some of it, all of it. So Lieutenant Russo says, what was that person going back 8 months ago who I deemed suspicious? And that's when they picked him up. That's when they went to his house and swabbed him. They swabbed 550 or more black men.
Right.
They didn't give that information to the defense.
That's right.
So you're violating the Sixth Amendment. Not only that, there should have been a Brady hearing.
That's right.
Why wasn't there a Brady hearing? Let's be clear.
Right.
Once you have additional information and evidence, especially coming from a police officer who just felt things were so wrong that he wanted to make it right. So he gave them information that they didn't have initially. Gave them in that DNA from European hair, not no black man's hair. European hair was found on her body. It was the police department that made the decision that we're not going after anybody white. This was a decision made not based on science. It was based on white supremacy. Said the victim's gotta be a black man. So what did they do? They swabbed black men. And they looked for, they invented all these machinations based on one man, and his high-ups went along with it, that it's gotta be a black person. Why is this so historically accurate? It's historically accurate because this is the way it's always done. The DNA was supposed to be the science that will convict somebody. They threw it out. You think they used it. They didn't use it. They dismissed science. What did they go with? They went with a confession. Well, let me tell you something about the history of black confessions. A black man in Boston confessed on a 68-page document, his name was Stewart, that he killed a white woman. Her husband killed her, and the brother-in-law gave him the weapon. He signed a 68-page document in Boston saying, you don't want to be a black man killing a white woman in Boston. Trust me, I went to school there. And yet, he signed that document based on the level of torture and deprivation that he had to go through. Look at the Central Park 7, not 5, 7. Look at the Central Park 7. Look at the confessions that they got from these young men. All of them were innocent. Right here in New York, same detectives did the same thing. They went crazy just on the rumor that a black man might have did something to a white woman. They got towns, they got massacres. We can go through massacres where thousands of black men were killed in different localities, not only in the Confederacy, in the Midwest also, in New York and Philadelphia, New Jersey, other places where there were massacres, based on just a rumor that a white woman was touched, or she was bumped in an elevator, or she was whistled at in Emmett Till's case.
That's right.
And white men went crazy and went after every black man in existence. So why am I saying this? To let you know that confessions not worth the paper that is written on when it involves the black people and the investigators are white. You can throw confessions out. They happen every day. Every day, not once in a while, every day. So some of you are writing and reporting, well, he said he did it. Did he? Did you check the missing hours that he wasn't in that investigation room? Did you check those hours? What was said? What was he deprived of? Did he want to speak to his mother? Did he want to eat? Did he want to see his family? Did he want to make a phone call? Well, what was happening during that time? I'm just telling you, if you look at all the evidence, you will see that they should have swabbed 550 white men. That's what the science dictates, not us. We don't have nothing to do with it. 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement is a pro-law enforcement organization. We want to see the guilty prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Unfortunately, in this case, the guilty person is not being prosecuted. They should have went where the science led them, which would have been to white individuals. They didn't do that. They made a clear decision. Whoever we arrest, whoever we prosecute is going to be a black man. And that's how they did it. And that's the position of 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement. And I'm saying this on behalf of a family that's God-fearing. Not one of them, all of them. God-fearing, love the Lord, called according to his purpose, serve the Lord, obeys his will. All of them, not some of them, all of them. God-fearing. I don't care what you say about Chanel with respect to the report about him being dim-witted or mentally challenged in any way. He loved the Lord like the rest of his family.
That's right.
Called according to that purpose. So I'm saying that, don't go by something saying he was mad or upset. If he was mad or upset, he would have did something long before he got to that so-called murder site. If you that upset, you don't wait and walk an hour and then get there, then do something. You do it right when you upset. FBI reports say black men can only stay mad but so long. How could he stay mad that long and then go all the way as far as he walked away and then walked away? No, no good. So I'm just saying that to say the science was not there. There was no real, true investigation, and they didn't go where it would have led them, because it would have led them to white individuals. They refused that. Consequently, Chanel Lewis was the one who was targeted. He was a target, they were successful in the target, and that's why you're here now, because you think this was justice. This was not justice. This was clearly, historically, what we always receive, injustice at the hands of people who look prominent, who robe themselves in prominence, but yet they have an agenda, and their agenda was to lock up a black man.
At this time, we will have the mother of Chanel Lewis speak. Do not ask her questions. We will take all the questions, but she will speak for her child very, very briefly. Stand right there.
Right there.
Stand there.
One step down.
Step down.
One step down.
Yeah, there you go.
First, I want to give my God the glory. Because to God be the glory, great things that he have done. And I still believe in God. And today, the judge, Aloise, sentenced my son. But I want to say to the judge, Aloise, he sent an innocent man to prison. But you know what? He have a God to talk to.
That's right.
He stand with the prosecution, and what they did to my son there, as a mother sitting down there, it is unbearable.
That's right.
My son did not, first, let me say, give condolence to the family again, because I'm a mother, and it grieved my heart when the mother talked today. My heart was broken, because I feel the mother pain, but also my son. My son, I don't know if I will see my son again, neither the mother will see her daughter. But as a mother, I still believe, and I know that Chanel, my son, is innocent. Chanel did not kill this lady. The judge tried to sentence him without compassion. Right. But I know that even though he said I'm sending him to a dark place, he already in a dark place. And he told the judge, Michael Aloise, I wish he was here to hear me, he's already sentenced himself, because what he did today was not justice for Chanel.
That's right. That's right.
And when they're talking about God, they don't know who God is. Right. Because if they know what God is, they would never done this to my son. Everything that was in the courthouse, it was framed by Brett Levington and Daniel Sanders. Now tell me, the police come to my house, which they said inside behind my back, because I didn't allow to testify. They come there and they take my son's DNA without even me seeing what they did. They come there with another female police. I don't want to call her name. I could. The police distract me, take me about 20 feet from where the officer was, courting Chanel, telling Chanel what to say, and take my son's DNA. No. What they did, they planted Chanel DNA on that girl. Right. If my son strangled this young lady, let her put down my back. I have some demonstration here to do.
That's right. Go ahead, sis.
If my son strangled that young lady, strangle her like this, that's what the DA said. How come the DNA only had the back of this young lady neck back? Huh? Which to tell the world that the world know, because God himself know that my son did not kill this young lady. But what they did, it's all make-up things with the prosecution, the judge, the police, and they put it on my son Chanel. But you know what? God is going to vindicate my son because it's not over. God said it's not over. And all I see today inside the courtroom is the devil work. The devil, all I see there was the devil. The Bible said we wrestle not with flesh and blood, but we wrestle with principality and wickedness in high places and power of darkness. And that's what I see there today. But you know what? I'm a more than a conqueror through Jesus Christ. Because you know what keep me? God.
Yes, sir.
That's right.
God keep me. I am not going to bash the family. No, I would not. Although they bash my son, I would not bash them. Because they have a right to say what they have to say because they lost a daughter. But I'm here to represent my son. And I will keep fighting for Channel. In the name of Jesus, I will keep on fighting, and I will fight until the last breath leave my body.
That's right.
Justice for Chanel!
Justice for Chanel!
Justice for Chanel! Justice for Chanel! Justice for Chanel!
I'm Dr. Berchel M. Marcus, community advocate for Borough of Brooklyn. I just want to say, as a legal advocate myself and former investigator, I could tell you that this young man has been framed, and this was an atrocity and injustice to us all. Mark my word, you never know when it's going to come back on your doorstep. I don't care who you are, what you are, where you're from. Injustice here is injustice everywhere. And we must stand together to rid people like Judge Aloise off the bench. And I guarantee you he will be removed from this bench. He's done his time, it's time for him to go. He have to get off this bench. John Russo is a perpetual racist bastard.
Talk about it.
And Barry Brown, for a black man, should be ashamed of itself. He should not be representing our people in no way, shape, or form. The police department needs to get rid of these two. They're big hypocrites, and they will be punished. God is watching over. He has the last word. And I'm going to tell you this. Corruption have to go. And only we as a people could make that happen. This justice system is corrupt, and it must change. It must change. The people have to stand up and change it. So I want to say to each and every one of you, we're going to stand here, and we're going to stand forever. We're going to stand up and make sure that this young boy is exonerated from this charade that just took place in this courtroom. The biasness, this judge have over 200 convictions overturned. And I'm going to say to you, right, while this judge is going to be removed, Chanel is going to be exonerated. Thank you.
I want Barry Brown and John Russo to be fired.
Justice for Chanel.
We can be paying for them to be doing this to our kids. All black men, be careful of NYPD police officers.
That's right. That's right.
Mother, take care of your son and your daughter. Be careful of them. The police officers, be careful of them. They're on a leech. And they're trying to destroy our black children, especially young black men.
No, that's it.
Justice for Chanel.
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 Chanel. Justice for 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 Chanel. No justice. 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 Give it to her. She wants to say, yeah.
The district attorney to be shame of themselves, sending an innocent man to prison. That should be shame of yourself. All this is bias and racist. That's why you guys do it. You should be shame of yourself. You were in it.
Shame on you. Shame on you.
That you were there.
Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you.
You're racist. And then you say you're on you.
I don't know whether you keep your license, but we will get your license. You don't have a license. As a matter of fact, you don't have a license. You have a fraud card. You are a
devil, and we're going to speak public truth. You're a devil. The biggest devil out there. Nothing's funny about it. And we're paying your salary. Remember that.
Yeah.
We're working, folks. Educated folks.
You will be paying us.
Let me tell you the one where inside the interrogation room. See how this injustice system. 1 hour, turn up and watch.
Shame on you.
Shame on you, Brett Leventhal.
Shame on
and
you.
Daniel Sanders.
Shame on you. Shame on you.
How can you send an innocent man to jail? You know who the killer is.
Shame on you. You're devil.
Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you.
You don't laugh yet. Because you don't have no power. The power is in a laugh yet.
That's right.
We will get the last one.
He ain't got no money.
Drop the light filter.
Yes, it's there, a black one.
Thank you.
He's right here. We ain't going
Shame on you. 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 You're racist. You're racist. Leventhal is a racist. Leventhal is a racist. Leventhal is a racist.
That's right.
You know what you had me today? You want to put your clan mask today? You want to put your clan mask today? You happy today, huh?
Justice for Chanel.
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 No.
Justice for Chanel. 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 Justice for Chanel.
Where he tried, he's looking for it.